Cooler is one of Fusion World's premier aggro decks, utilizing the card manipulation of yellow to apply a non-stop barrage of attacks. Welcome to Archetype 101. I'm Espira and we'll be breaking down Yellow Cooler. We'll be going over what the deck wants to do, an example deck list to get you started, and some gameplay to see it in action. Without further ado, let's get started. Cooler is a yellow leader released in Awakened Pulse. His critical frontside synergizes incredibly well with the deck's desire to be aggressive, denying your opponent resources when you attack into them. On his backside, Cooler has one of the most interesting abilities in the game. For the cost of a card during main or battle timing, Cooler can restand either an energy or a Frieza Clan battle card with a cost of 4 or less. This ability has a ton of versatility when combined with powerful cards, such as super rare 4-drop Cooler. On aggression, you're able to restand and potentially KO 2 cards and have this card restand on defense to utilize as a blocker, or work around the restrictions of super rare 4-drop Frieza, allowing you to get multiple attacks with this card that usually stays down in rest mode. Don't forget the energy restand, however, allowing you to go all in while still having the option to utilize battle tricks, such as Supernova, to close the gap on your opponents. While a lot of what yellow is aiming to do is a lot more generic than the other colors, Cooler leans that package into the more aggro section, allowing you to really press the advantage and try to keep the game in low turn numbers, pressing a really fast aggro start so that your opponent feels suffocated, not able to make any progress into their late game. With that overview in mind, let's go check out a deck list. When it comes to Cooler, the deck really has two components of it, the go fast and the go big. And unfortunately, dealing with Broly is a little bit different than how you would deal with Gohan, and then when you look towards the other colors, how you would deal with red and blue. In terms of our early plays, we just have some consistency pieces. We run a lot of Frieza in the deck, a lot of which we want to see from our Self-Awakeners all the way to our top end. So we do run the Searcher Zarbon for it, also finds us our Golden Friezas, which is nice. We have the Sorbet, which is just a straight draw, and then we run 3 of these Friezas to be able to have the flexibility of being able to rest mode something if need be. You'll notice that we do run a Ginyu package, and the Ginyu package is something that's slotted not only in Frieza decks, but especially in this deck, since we are the more aggro variant, though we are still keeping it slim, keeping it at 4 Ginyu and 4 Raccoon. Of course, Raccoon doing a really great job of doubling as Self-Awakeners, but this deck wants to Self-Awaken to apply pressures on turn 3, 4, and 5 with the big beefy bodies of Frieza and Cooler. So with that, of course, we round out our Self-Awakeners with 2 Niezes, 4 Zarbons, and 4 Friezas. 2 Niezes is primarily there because we need a certain amount of Frieza's army to get off the Ginyu ability of restanding our energy, and it only takes you one time to accidentally try to activate Ginyu while you have a Niez on board to realize that we're just going to max out on Zarbon instead. So we're going to sacrifice a little bit of combo power to just secure that we're always in a position, or more likely in a position, to actually be able to get our Ginyu off. And then after that, we do actually run some vanillas, because 25k vanillas that we can restand with our leader ability to apply more pressure is really strong, especially in a meta with Broly. And the 10k combo power is welcome. So we actually run 2 of the Coolers and 4 of the Friezas, naturally the Frieza being searchable by the Zarbon. And then to round out our top end, like I said, the deck really splits in 2, where you have your aggro side and your go big side. On our go big side, we're using 4-drop Cooler. We're using 3 of them. Naturally gets rid of blockers, can get rid of combo power on your opponent's board, applies good pressure, and gives the deck the little bit of defense that it sometimes might need to see another turn to be able to close out the game. 40k Frieza, incredibly strong. Some of the logic I give for 40k Frieza is that we pay 8 energy to destroy one of our opponent's cards and attack twice with a 45k, and we draw a card. So naturally, Broly does a lot, but for half that price in an aggressive deck, you can discard one, but get to attack twice. And in a deck where we're already aggressing with multiple 20ks, 5, 6 swings on turn 3, to capstone that with a 40k swing that comes in twice is a huge deal, especially since oftentimes our opponent's gonna have to deal with the board as opposed to aggressing into us to close out the game right away. Finally, we round out with 2 Golden Friezas, just great double strike option. I know some people who run their Coolers without them. I love having the double strike option personally. You can't restand it, but just the flexibility of being able to do that or keep a Broly in rest mode or something like that sometimes does come up. We have 4 super combos, not much to say there. For the most part, they protect your board more often than your life, but the flexibility is fine. And I do like the 2 Supernovas. Again, I see some people play without the extra cards, but Supernova being flexible in terms of allowing me to aggress while keeping something locked down on board, or using my Cooler ability to play a 4-drop, swing into my opponent, restand an energy, and then being able to go Supernova after that is a welcome trick in my books. With this deck list in mind, let's check out some gameplay. To kick us off, we've got a game against Gohan, and you guys already know for me, my strategy with Gohan is let's go wide, let's go fast. So our primary dig is for any components of the Ginyu package, but nevertheless, the first few turns are going to be setting up our Self-Awaken anyways. So we take hits where we can, we swing with our 20k crits, to be able to force our opponent into, you know, not getting light hand advantage. And the green leaders are the ones that do like taking damage for their life much more than not. Here we're going to use our 2-drop Awakener, and then we're going to get the Ginyu, which is nice. That's a good utility for later. We're going to trade our Sorbet into Goku because why not make it more awkward for our opponent? We don't necessarily mind if our opponent attacks into the Sorbet, especially since we've got a good set of Self-Awakeners in the hand anyways. Opponent combos out of the attack. I don't mind that at all. They might as well get a card out. They are able to curve out, though, into their Destructive Strength and then go in for the Gohan. We're going to protect our Self-Awakener. You know what? I'd like to give myself the best chance possible to be able to go on my Awakened side next turn. We've got that option with Niez if we want to. Charge the Vanilla here because we don't need to go as big, but obviously you need to be careful about how much combo power you get rid of. But I'm holding onto the Cooler because there might be some points where we might want to clear out some cheap combo power on board. We find the Raccoon, which is huge. So we go Raccoon into the Ginyu here, get the 2 back. I decide to not take the life with Raccoon because we're going to take it with Niez instead. And we're drawn to the Double Striker. Odds are we're not going to go in with the Double Striker, primarily because going big against Gohan usually gives them the advantage of being able to combo out of it. You want to go wide, you want to put annoying pressure, and the beauty here is our opponent's going to 4. So the best thing that they can do against us potentially is go into a Vegeta, discard a card, attack into something. Odds are that thing's not going to die anyways. So we're in a pretty good position here this early in the game, being able to apply this much aggro. Here we've got the Awaken, but nevertheless we are fine. We do use our Cooler ability to restand because we want to get in as many hits early as we can, and we'll sacrifice some hand advantage to be able to get there. We'll protect the 20k, why not? If our opponent wants to commit more after that, then so be it. But no, they actually Destructive Strength. So not having the Vegeta, they do, however, have an Android 18, which we're going to want to get rid of, and our Cooler is going to do a fantastic job at that. So we'll protect the 20k on board just because we want to maintain our wide board as possible. And naturally, we need to be careful about what they might have. They might have an Android 17 and 18 coming up next turn, going to 6, but we'll worry about that when we get there. You know, between having one Cooler and then maybe having a Raccoon into Supernova, we have plays going into our next turn, even if our opponent spends a lot of time dealing with our board. So here we're just going to apply as much pressure as possible. We don't need to play anything else, right? Attack with what you have first before you commit to playing something so that your opponent doesn't know what you're going for, right? Opponent might think we're going for another Raccoon Ginyu. Maybe they think we're going for something else. But here we can go with the Cooler. We can get rid of the Android, which is nice. We're preventing draws from our opponent. We're preventing potential combo. Force them to super combo here. And you already know that we want to get that restand. So we're going to push the other Cooler. We're going to restand. We're going to swing. And if we can get our opponent to 1, that'd be a really sweet spot. But nevertheless, I still feel comfortable knowing that even if the Android 16 and 17, we're going to have some things on board survive. We're going to be able to apply pressure. I feel okay. So here they swing, and he swings with the Gohan. So neat. We can actually just protect our Cooler here by restanding him. Opponent can't attack into him. We feel okay. Sure, you're going to get rid of our 20k there, but we have a fantastic attacker that's able to clear the board. We're able to have Supernova live, which is awesome. Just having additional pressure. So we're going to swing. Going to get an additional draw here. Opponent combos out of it. And now I'm thinking about what we really are aiming to do. Still kind of deciding what the right move here and depending on if they defend or not. So here the opponent will go ahead and defend it. So we're going to swing into the leader because no reason not to. And then instant Kamehameha, which I feel pretty okay with, to be totally honest. Here I'm thinking to myself and I'm figuring, okay, well, I doubt we can close out game based on the way they play. Here, I pretty much guarantee myself seeing another turn if we go and restand the Cooler and just wait. You know, if he swings here, I can block. I can go ahead and rest mode the double strike, and we're not going to lose. And I felt a little bit more confident about having another turn where I could get additional draws, having a little bit more stuff for my opponent to have to deal with, than just raw dogging, you know, one more attack and praying all goes well. So we lose our board, but we don't mind. We draw into a Ginyu. That's cool. We swing, see a Supernova. So we don't have a ton, but I'd rather spread this out across multiple hits. So we're not going to dump both Supernovas here. We're just going to go 40k into our opponent, and then we're going to line up the Ginyu into the Supernova to hopefully close out the game, because if we don't close out the game here, we probably just lose. So hopefully this 40k is enough, and it does seem like it's gonna get us there. Opponent's only going to 30k to our 40, and we're able to close out. So tight game, but here we were able to apply a ton of pressure. At no point did Gohan ever feel comfortable. If you are facing green, though, do recognize that their threat to you is definitely not Broly. It is more so the secret rare and the Android 17 and 18. And here we actually have the mirror match. So very rarely do I get to showcase mirror matches in these Archetype 101s, but nevertheless, I think it's fun to showcase, especially with crit leaders, right? How do crit leaders play with each other? How does the mirror match play out? And our opponent charged 4-drop Cooler. We're keeping ours because 4-drop Cooler is an incredible mirror breaker. There's so many cards in these decks that play 2-drops, and just having the up on being able to start clearing board for free, keeping board pressure for free, is incredibly strong. So we're definitely going to lean, when possible, to try and use our cooler on turn 3, especially with the energy marker. You know, even if our opponent plays a cooler going into their turn 4, we already have ours down on board and have the up on maintaining the board pressure. So here, opponent's going to swing into us. We're just going to take the hits. We're going to take the crit. They play Raccoon, take the life, but then they don't play anything. And like, that's fine. You want to use them as a self-awakener that also doesn't do anything, and then you don't attack into us? All right, bet. That's fine. I know you don't want us to self-awaken, but I don't mind that at all. We're just going to go into our cooler here. We're going to get rid of this Zarbon, and we're just going to apply pressure. We're going to, you know, not go too crazy. We're not going to combo or nothing like that. We are still unawakened. So the opponent does have a position where they could potentially hold us off of being able to draw cards. But nevertheless, we're going to apply pressure where we can. We've got the Raccoon into the Ginyu next turn. Hopefully we draw into some stuff and he attacks into us. Oh my God. All right, then. Yeah, right. I'll take the Awaken any day of the week. Here, they've got the cooler. They take out our Zarbon. That's fine. We will Awaken, just see how many cards we get to work with here. And we will go and protect our cooler. Argument to be made, we probably should have restood here, but that is fine. We're just going to go ahead and take this hit because we just want the gas. And then opponent here will discard, restand their cooler, and attack into us, which is very interesting. We're just going to super combo out of it. No reason for us to go to 2. We don't want to be in Golden Frieza range, that's for sure. And now we're in a really sweet spot. We could play the 40k. We could play the Raccoon into the Ginyu, right? We could go wide. An opponent here, you want to swing with your leader first to force him to have to cooler if he needs to. And now we can just swing our cooler into his board and control here. And now I notice that we have a huge hand advantage on our opponent. So I don't mind doing the board control for this turn, knowing we've got 5 cards in hand. We've got the superior board. Opponent's not going to be able to deal with it really. So I figured, you know what? Let's just solidify our advantage, clear their board, and then we can go and start pressuring for game afterwards. Here, they go into Sorbet. Nothing crazy there. They go into the 40k here, and we're actually going to defend it. And then we're going to restand it just because we don't want him to attack into it again. We don't really have the combo power and we want to maintain the combo power that we have here. We're just going to take this because, you know what, we're about to close out game here. And if you want to give me the option of having more gas to be able to close you out, then all the better. We're going to get rid of the Sorbet, you know, very important sequence in a way to prevent your opponent from getting some free combo. And then we're going to swing with the leader, get some draw where we can. Hey, we have a dead golden, but that's fine. Our opponent's at 2. They have 2 cards in hand. I feel very confident about being able to close in here. 40k swing, and this before we even do all the rest of our shenanigans. We're going to play Raccoon. We're going to take the card. We want the combo power. We're going to play the Ginyu. You know, keep our opponent guessing. Maybe we play another card. Maybe we don't. We're going to go in with the Raccoon. We're going to go in with the Ginyu, and that's going to be game. So here, really, the big breaker, cooler, and then just making sure we maintain our gas so that in the late game, we can just apply really good pressure once we know that we've stabilized with board control. Of course, alternatively, you could just go hardcore Ginyu and go Giga Wide, but cooler is really strong in a matchup, and the one who's able to maintain it the best is really the one that's able to take control of the entire match. So oftentimes, I do think you want to lean more into, you know, if you can find it, cooler, otherwise maybe a little bit more control-y in the beginning so that you can stabilize to be in a position to be able to have a more comfortable walk-in to closing out the game. As with all crit leaders, I think there's a level of difficulty in managing having so few cards to work with in the early game, and then what plays make right in terms of being able to close out against your opponent, especially when it's like, do I go wide, do I go tall? Nevertheless, I think Cooler is an extremely strong leader, lines up incredibly well with the green meta that we're currently in, and I think is in a position to do a lot of work if you dedicate the time to perfecting your aggressive line. If you guys enjoyed the Archetype 101, with that said, I'll catch you guys on the next one.